So, with a huge round of applause, let us welcome contestant number 22.
My code is 32.
Contestant number 32, your topic code.
And topic code is 2. Warm greetings to one and all present here. And hey ISBJ. Okay, let me start by asking you a question. What is happiness?
Money.
And what is money?
Love. Love.
And what is love?
Nothing.
Okay, so coming back, if you don't have a love, if you don't have happiness, and you take money, everything, then darling, you aren't living your life. Come back to reality. Money is not everything in life. Do you guys agree? Few minutes ago, when I was outside for a tea break, one of my co-contestant told me that I can highly disagree on the topic. Money can buy love and happiness. How is that possible? Happiness is family, friendship, and bonding that you have between people. Okay? And friendship is a bonding that comes from within. No one is forcing you for that. No one is telling you be close to me or let's be friends. No one is forcing it. It's a feeling that comes from within. And happiness, talking about happiness, happiness is not about money. I agree money is needed for normal survival, but then money is not everything. Money is only a mode to live your life in a normal way. Basic needs of a human being is food, shelter, clothing, which can be bought by money, which has a price tag. But then family, friendship, love, and living your life, a beautiful life, cannot be bought. You cannot buy it. You cannot have a price tag on it telling like 200 rupees ka love milta hai, 3000 rupees ka life milta hai. You cannot say that. And I personally chose this topic because I have my personal views on it. I have my mom and dad who work day and night. When I come back from school, I used to wish, why aren't my mom and dad sitting with me and asking me, how was your day? Because even they are tired as well. No one is here to ask them, how was your day? How is your day going? What is your stress? No one is going to ask it because my mom and dad are running behind money because they want my future to be bright and prosperous. Obviously, every parents want their child to be prosperous and have a bright future, and they want their child to have everything in their life, everything that she wants. So this is how I felt. People say family that dines together stays together. Luckily, my family is together, but they do not dine together because they don't have time to dine together. All they do is running behind money and just waiting for a future to stay together when my mom and dad are in old age, and then we'll sit together and talk about life. That is not all about it. When I'm in my teenage, I want my parents to sit behind me and then they want to ask me, how is your teenage going? How is your day going? How is your friend? How is your life? I want that to happen. Talking about money, it's just a paper printed with some value and a picture of Gandhiji. Currency, bucks, all you need is for food, having it, and for some clothing, for shopping. But then it cannot buy friends. Let me talk about love. When a guy proposes a girl, kneeling down, giving a ring and saying, darling, I love you. But then, it doesn't happen. The moment is being enjoyed. The moment is being enjoyed and not the ring is being counted. Ring is not the thing. The thing is that he's expressing his feelings and saying, I love you. I would like to conclude by saying, guys, run behind the bonds you have. Cherish the moments. Live for your life. Live for the beautiful life that God has gifted you from above. You have been gifted to your mother, and then you want your life to go ahead with a beautiful smile which is coming from within and not being forced. I want to say that money is not everything, yet you need it for survival. Remember it. I am not saying you need money and you can buy everything from money, but then you need money for survival, not everything. Thank you.
So we have 88, 69, 49 and 80. We will begin with contestant number 88. Please give her a huge round of applause. Contestant number 88. Judges, contestant number 88.
My code number is 88 and my subject code is 50. 50. Imagine there's no countries. It isn't hard to do so. Nothing to kill or die for, and no religion too. Imagine all people living life in peace. You may think that I'm crazy, but I'm not the only one. I hope that someday you will join us too, to live in a world together. Good afternoon, respected judges and my dear friends. Today I am going to speak about terrorism and world peace. What is terrorism? Although there isn't an official definition, a general one is that terrorism is the unlawful use of violence and intimidation, especially over civilians, to propagate political aims. It is a direct threat to life and world peace. Terrorism is continuously affecting lives all over the world, and it has proved to be a fatal threat to world peace. The 21st century has witnessed many shocking events, such as the 9/11 terror attacks, the Mumbai terror attacks, the Madrid train bombings, the Peshawar school attacks, and so on. All of these attacks and the killings of innocent lives has led to fear and mistrust among the people. Terrorism is rapidly growing, and due to many reasons, and two of the main reasons are political and economical. The exploitation of wealth and the reaction against it comes in the form of terrorism. I firmly think that terrorism is not an answer to this problem. I believe that no religion in the world says that one person should attack or kill an innocent person. But all religions encourage people and preach that we need to practice love and non-violence, because those are the only thing that motivates us to move forward. No man would wish to see the end of the world. Therefore, I believe that terrorism will come to an end. When the world overcomes all oppression, greed, and unhealthy competition, that is when terrorism will come to an end. Once we stop looking at each other based on our religion, caste, country, race, and we start looking at each other as human beings, as one family, that is when terrorism comes to an end. That is when we will be able to put an end to hate and grow in love, because that is all we need. As John Lennon sings in Imagine, I also believe that there will be a day when the world comes together in peace, living together as one family. Thank you.
Thank you. That was contestant number 88. And now with a huge round of applause, my dear friends, let us call upon contestant number 69.
My code number is 69 and topic number is 33. As Braden Francis once said, many people fear are like just tissue paper thin. Just one step, one courageous step will take them to a different another level where they will just succeed and they will overcome their fear. Good afternoon to one and all present here. The topic for today is to conquer fear is the beginning of wisdom. So in today's world, we are very, very much materialistic in our lives. We continuously think of the thoughts that what is going to happen next. We continuously think what has happened in the past and what is going to happen in the present. We are actually we are actually in the process that makes us do some uncomfortable, makes us feel uncomfortable and stops us doing things which are called as out of the box. Sometimes we even think the fears which are imaginary, and they are also at a certain level that we literally fear fear them, and it sums up to another level of insanity. And even if there is a lot of fear in us, we need to break these shackles, and we need to just come out of them to excel in our life. I'll give an example of William Douglas. He was a judge at Supreme Court in USA. So it all started when he was 3 or 4 years old, when he and his dad went to California beach. So he was knocked down there by waves, and from that day he had an aversion of water. So after when he was 10 or so, he joined swimming classes. There he coped up with all the children, and he was satisfied. He tried to copy them, but after some time, a boy of 18 years, he tossed him into the swimming pool, and because of that, he was at the end of the pool. He couldn't breathe. His legs were freezed. The icy horror grabbed his heart. All the unpleasant memories of his childhood was revived again. He couldn't think of anything. He tried very hard to come out of the pool, but he couldn't. Then later, after some time, he gathered all his strength, and then he pushed himself out of the water. After this incident, he was shook. He couldn't think of anything else. He literally feared water and he stopped going around places which had water near them. So because of this, he always wanted to go next to the waterfalls, and he enjoyed it. But the fear of water was still there. The fear of water was still there because of his childhood memories. So he decided to hire an instructor. So the instructor told him the procedure how to learn swimming. He tied a rope around his waist and used to push and pull him across the pool. He practiced every day for 1 hour and 5 days a week. After this, he wasn't that satisfied, because he thought that the fear of water will return. So he himself went to Lake Wentworth in USA and swam literally 2 miles from Triggs Island to Stampak Island. And when he was in the middle of the sea, the fear of water still revived, but he laughed. He laughed at it, and he said that it couldn't harm him, and he resumed swimming. So it was a great, this experience was of great importance in Douglas' life, because he feared death. He feared the fear of death, and because of that, he had another level expectations, and his desire to live life grew immensely. So I would like to conclude by saying that when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, contestant number 69. And now I call upon contestant number 49. A huge round of applause for contestant number 49.
Good afternoon to all present here. My code is 49 and my subject code is 81. The topic is financial education and need of an hour. To all present here, I will ask 2 questions. The first question is, are we all literate or not? Yes? But are we financially literate? No, that's the reason. Our Indian tradition culture is so rich that it indirectly teaches us that we should learn investing, saving. This much rich our tradition is. If you remember, the time of 2008, the economic crisis in the world, where the economy of America was at its very low, it was worse. They don't have any finance, any treasure, nothing else. At that time, Barack Obama insisted their public to learn from Indians the art of saving, the art of investing. That's the nature of our India. But in the last 10 years, our culture is hit by Western culture so badly that I can say that we the youth, as I am a youth, I can say that we are earning for the weekends. We are earning Fridays and investing it on the Saturday and Sunday. That we are doing right now. And I promise you that if we don't learn the importance of finance as well as investing, the next 50 years are going to be too much difficult. Because right now we have the population 65% as a youth. And if 50% of them don't know what is the finance, what is the financial education, what they will save, how will they invest? And right now the current literacy rate, the inflation rate of India is 4%. That means each year, if you are having 1 lakh rupee in our locker, we have not invested it, so it's getting reduced by 4,000 rupees each year. The value is decreasing. Just calculate for 20 years, you are not investing in anything, so the money is reduces directly to 20,000. 4,000 a year, multiply by 20, that gives 80,000. So the value of 1 lakh rupees is going to be directly 20,000. So just think what will happen. Right now we are paying a fee of nearly 2 lakh rupees per year. Just think you will have children, how will you pay their fees? The financial education is must for our country. I can say that for primary school itself, the economics should be compulsory subject. That's the importance. I can just a small example I will give to judges as well as teachers here. I will ask them, in your child age, if you want some money from your parent, just you ask them, Papa, mujhe paisa dena. They will say, le beta le. They will not say you that, go and we will take a loan, then I will give you. They will not say that because we have saving. But in America, it's totally opposite. Right now in America, 70% people are in debt. They don't have their own house itself. Our education, our culture teaches us that we should own our own house. We should save money. But my dear friends, the future is very bad for our country. Really, I'm saying. As a second year student of engineering, we also have the economic subject. And I can it's wrong that even of my classmates, more than 50% people don't know what is inflation, what is GDP, and they are not interested to learn itself. If you want to be a millionaire, you need to learn that. It's more important. And don't say me that we don't know. And don't say me that we don't know how to earn money if we have money. It's very simple. There are many people who are doing crazy things and earning money. They are becoming billionaire in years. OYO itself, you have a very great example in front of us. He is a dropout of an engineering student. And right now he is, I think, first or second position in the whole world that we have those many hotels. Just think how the business model is running. You can earn money. It doesn't require that you should be an engineer, educate. You should be a financial literate person. That's more important. I can proudly say that my dad has taught me what is finance, what is economics. My dad is a 10th pass student. I can say that. But he due to just his hard work, his strategy, I am here as speaking. And he has made me that courageous person that I can proudly say that in the next, my future is very bright. I can say that. Because he had told me, beta tu 10,000 कमाएगा ना, उसमें से 10% तो भी तेरे को invest करना है, याद रखना जिंदगी भर. वो भी 20 साल की उम्र से. This is his teachings for me. And I think I am following it, and I will obviously follow it, and I motivate every one of you. Just come up and start investing. If you want your secure future, then start investing. If you get a pocket money of 100 rupees, just invest 10 rupees in your mutual fund also. It will be of so useful for you. Thank you.
Wonderful. That's contestant number 49. And it is called upon contestant number 80 with a huge round of applause. Dear friends, contestant number 80. 8080.
Hello. Good afternoon to respected judges, teachers, and all my dear friends. My code is 80 and my subject code is 2. Topic name: Money cannot buy love and happiness. How many of you love your mothers and fathers? Friends? Families? Cousins? Okay. So, for what price did you purchase it? 0. For what price did you purchase their trust? Okay, so that's the answer. Many of them feel that if they have money, they can buy anything. So, how many of you all agree to that? If you have money, you can buy anything. Any of them? Okay, so can you buy your mother's love?
She's dead. So how can I buy her?
I'm sorry for that, but for any relationship, you cannot buy it.
Yeah. So, money increases your quality of life.
So how does it matter? So how does it matter? If you are improving your quality of matter, then that too on a cost of money, that's not good.
Do you directly go and inject some chemicals to make love?
No, you just trust them and make sure you present yourself as you are. A short story. I was just passing by the road. There's a small girl of 10 years old. She was selling some handmade papers. I just went to her and I asked her that, do you make this paper? She said, yes, I'm making this paper. So I asked her, what's the rate? So she's like, 10 rupees per paper. And as I was looking through that paper, the fine through what she was making was exceptional. I offered her 40 rupees per paper. Her mother besides her, she just came by and she said, I don't need that money. And I was like, if I'm giving this extra money, will she be happy? So her answer shook me off. She said, sir, I don't need money to make my daughter happy. Money will never buy happiness. And one more shocking story which I heard was her husband, that night, he was a labor and he just got a call from his friend saying that here money is distributed at, if you start working right now for the next 4 hours, you'll be paid 5,000. He just went there and he never returned in the morning. What returned was his dead body. That shook me off. She said, if my husband would have stayed that night, not for the greed, then my daughter would have definitely got a father's love. So don't run behind money, guys. It's not at all good. And talking about love, happiness, what did our mothers or fathers pay so that they love us? No, right? Even we love them unconditionally. So why money? Why do you need it? For yes, example, clothes, exactly. But for love and happiness, you don't need money. It's just you are portraying yourself and everyone should love you as you are. Not what you wear, not what you say, or not what exactly you say by money. No, not at all. It's only how you portray yourself. People should trust you on your words and your character, not on money. And I would sum up by saying, money cannot and will never buy love or happiness. It will only buy you loneliness, nothing else. It is the worst thing in the world. So start building your characters, start building love around you, and make sure you help everyone. That's the only message I've got for you. Thank you.
Thank you. That was contestant number 80. It is a humble request to all the students to kindly adjust the mic as per your height, because that is also one of the elements of elocution, when we are here. So we should learn something. So let us have one learning to, how to be in front of the public while using the mic. So make sure that you are adjusting the mic as per your height. And yes, let us not have any loose comments here. The competition is going on very well. So let us be at peace and be at serenity, right? Let us keep enjoying the competitions. All right, so next contestant is contestant number 9. Is 9 here? Huge round of applause for contestant number 9. Please maintain decorum.
Good morning, judges, and good morning, all of you who are present here. So, what value does this place holds for you? For me, it's an opportunity. For me, it's my movement. For movement, I want to be in front of everyone. See, like one click of movement can make you fall in love. Another click of movement can give you the opportunity you can wait for rest of your life. Anyone of you know that most CEOs of big companies are Indians, right? We all know about brain drain thing. But do you know why they go there? Because in search of opportunity. None of us over here doubt their ability, even by one person. But opportunity was the thing that made them go 7 seas across. They miss their families, they miss their home too. I came from some other state to Pune for opportunity itself. Ability without opportunity is nothing. We 90 came here after crossing 500 others. Someone attending class right now might have more ability than you all or me. But because he missed a click of movement or because he missed that opportunity, he won't be here. That is the movement I'm talking about. Sitting and just listening to others is fine. But ability sitting there is nothing. Let's tell you a story. A boy wants to go to a mountain. He wants to climb it. So he's looking for a trail to follow. So walking is his ability. But trail, what he requires is its opportunity. So responsible for achieving your goal is that opportunity. So how many of you have watched the movie Ferrari Ki Sawari? Many. I know it was not a good movie. But the thing is, even Sharman Joshi knew at that time that though his boy plays very good cricket in gully, but going to Lords, it's very important thing for his child. Because that's when he'll become something more. He'll show off his ability then. If someone of you has travelled a local buses from one state to another, you'll notice a girl, a boy with a man playing music and singing, right? How many of you have seen that? Many. Even if you have your earplugs on, you won't ignore their voice because it's so good. So, singer over there in that bus, and any one of you sings here, or yesterday the girl came and sang. So, that's the difference between opportunity. You can make a YouTube video and create millions of followers and then be in a movie itself. But those people, because they don't have an opportunity, they won't be there. How many of you know that many other women and men have in urban areas have so much of talent in them, but because they don't get a one single chance, they don't come up. And let me be very honest with you. If you're one of those people who think opportunity will come and knock at your door, that knock never happens. Even opportunity will be like, oh, aage se left, nikal. I want to quote something very good here. It's not by me, it's just differentiated by me. वो एक हवा का झोंका है, उसको किसने रोका है? किसी के लिए छोटी सी वो बात और किसी के लिए जिंदगी भर का मौका है. That is the thing I want all of you to realize. So if you're waiting there, sitting, checking on your friends' Instagram stories and looking at what they are doing, get out. Their followers won't follow you back. You need to make your own followers, get up and stand. Gain your opportunity itself. Thank you and have a glorious day.
Thank you. Thank you, contestant number 9. Do we have contestant number, it was 1 again, 46? Huge round of applause for contestant number 46. Contestant number 9, what was your topic code?
Ma'am, topic code 21.
21. Contestant number 9, topic code was 21. We have contestant number 46 here.
Who changed the world? Who changed the world? Gandhiji, Newton, Jesus Christ, they changed the course of our history. But has anybody thought why? It is because They made an extraordinary difference with their work and action. Respected jury and my friends, today I'm here to speak on the topic ordinary people but extraordinary difference. The code of the topic is 77 and my code is 46. Good afternoon, all of you. What is the difference between ordinary and extraordinary? The difference between the ordinary and extraordinary is the extra. Once there was a man traveling in a train with an attractive wristwatch, and there were some girls sitting in front of him who were making fun of his appearance. So they decided to play a prank. They told him that you remove the wristwatch and give it to us, else we'll call the cops and tell them that you're harassing us. He stayed silent and acted deaf and made actions that write down on the paper what you want. The girls wrote it on the paper and gave it to him. Any guesses what he did next? He then spoke up, called the cops and said, I have a complaint to make. My friends, do you know who this man was? An Hindu monk, not just a spiritual mind, but a prolific thinker, a disciple of Buddha, a passionate patriot, Swami Vivekananda. An ordinary man who made an extraordinary difference in our society. Being extraordinary starts with a little shift in your mindset. More than 95% of the people do not continue on their commitment, let it be with relationship, health, or whatsoever. So, if you do positive things, you are automatically extraordinary. Falling in love is easy, but falling in love with the same person again and again is extraordinary. If you perceive happiness, it's ordinary. But if happiness perceives you, that's extraordinary. Extraordinary is not reserved for rich and famous, powerful and privileged. No, it can be found within the most seemingly ordinary lives. किसी ने बहुत खूब कहा है, सोच बदलो सितारे बदल जाएंगे, नजर बदलो नजारे बदल जाएंगे, कश्ती बदलने की जरूरत नहीं है, दिशा बदलो किनारे खुद ब खुद लग जाएंगे. So, the exact difference between an ordinary person and extraordinary person is, extraordinary person becomes a leader and an ordinary man becomes a follower. So, I would like to quote what Shiv Khera once said, winners don't do different things, they do things differently. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Contestant number 46. And our next contestant is 85. Do we have 85 here? Okay. Do we have 51? Huge round of applause for contestant number 51. We had our food.
Good evening, fellas and respected judges. Oh, wow, she's different here. Anyway, ever since we were a small kid, our parents have told us that, beta, you're special, you're different from others. Right, everybody? Or was just my parents consoling the odd kid? Anyway, even in movies we see that the hero is different from everyone around him. That special factor that separates him or her from the side cast. My question is, why is it so? Why does it have to be someone special, someone different? There's this feeling called pseudo-exceptionalism, the unearned conviction that we are superior, exceptional than others. And deep down, we all want it. And the reason for that is because we think to achieve greatness, we need to be special, something different. And why won't we feel so? We have been fed ridiculous movies and examples such as Bill Gates was a dropout, Einstein was a failure. Why do we have this feel to need that we are special? Why can't we be happy being normal? We need to understand that being normal is completely okay. I mean, come on. It's okay to be there in the audience and clap, then be on the stage at times. It's okay to just be among the passers-by and not create a scene and be something different. I mean, come on, my dad is a pretty normal guy. I look at him and he's he's greatly successful in his career and happy to top it off. And even if we appear normal to everyone else around us, we are heroes in our own stories. In our life story, will always be the lead character, the protagonist, the main hero. You don't need a sprinkle, fairy dust, some wave of wand, a magical hammer, an unbreakable shield to make you feel special, or any tragedy also like Batman. So, you don't need anything to be special. Just be yourself, just be normal. And when the time comes, you will be special. I don't care how I'm judged today, or even I don't proceed to the next round. My father told me yesterday that he's proud of me that I came here, that I have reached this round. And that's victory enough for me. Yeah. My father is proud of me, what else do I need to feel special? I'm number 51, and that's for me.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Do we?
Subject code 83.
So 51 spoke on. Meanwhile, I'll just check how many of you are here till the time judges can take some time. 34. Do we have 34? Bhanu Dada, can you please come and pick up some chairs for me instead of picking some chairs, lifting some chairs. So he is Bhanu Dada of School of Holistic Development. And he has chosen half century, 50. Is 50 here? Great. So we have 50 and 16. Sweet 16. We have sweet 16. Get all warmed up. Good. All right. Do we have 40? 40? 40? So Sahil, 40. We had him on stage yesterday, so that's how you all know and we all know him. Number 6. Is number 6 here? Okay. So we have our next 5 contestants. The list goes like this: 34, 50, 16, 40, and contestant number 6. Judges, ready? Number 34. Huge round of applause for contestant number 34.
Good afternoon, guys. My subject code is 42. So my topic is the importance of censorship is in the age of internet. So like, how many of you guys haven't used internet over here? Haven't? Wow, really? Okay, so like, I pretty much grew up on the internet. Like, I had unrestricted access over the internet from the age of 11. So I practically fully grew up on the internet. All of my mannerisms, language, everything comes from it. So that's why this is a really private topic to me. Because you know, censorship, like how many of you guys have encountered censorship on the internet? Really interactive audience. So I'm gonna give an example of the Great Firewall of China. You know, so their president, Xi Jinping, he doesn't like memes being made about him. So he banned them from the internet over there. They don't have like our search engines or our social media. They have really controlled social media. They can censor anything they want. So now they banned his name. So the citizens, they started to use Winnie the Pooh to, you know, because he resembled the president. So they started making memes about him. And even Winnie the Pooh was banned. Even his film was banned. Just because the president didn't like it. And you know, the same thing might happen to our internet due to Article 13 and Article 11. Has anyone heard about it? Yes. It's from the European Union. So it basically stands like anything copyrighted material. Like, let's say we have a SpongeBob meme. So like, if Nickelodeon doesn't want the meme to be used, so if Article 13 is passed, we can't use it anywhere, like not even on private messages, and that's censorship, and that isn't good. So like, so one of the most oldest websites. Does anyone know here 2CH? 2CH is older than like most of us, so I doubt many of us would know. It's a Japanese forum, and you know, it's one of the websites that still stands. Why? Due to good moderation. They have like free speech over there. They can say anything they want. And you know, while we are at it, let's take a bad example of moderation. Everyone knows about Tumblr.
Yes.
So recently, App Store banned it because they had child pornography. And you know, because Tumblr was so bad at moderating, that's why the whole website, they had to censor everything. Like they took off all porn of it, not just child pornography or anything. Everything they took it off. And now Tumblr is like, you know, just bad, but that's not the topic. So let's take a local example of censorship. I come from a town, like my hometown is called Koregaon Bhima. I guess you guys might have heard about it.
Yes.
So during the New Year's time, the police, they installed jammers over in the area. And due to the jammers, we couldn't access the internet or anything. And you know, there's also some SIM companies who couldn't call anyone. So during the night, a pregnant woman, she had to go to the hospital. But she couldn't. She couldn't call the ambulance. Why? Because jammers were installed. Why? Because the government couldn't moderate the public. They instead decided to censor them. Due to that, the woman had a miscarriage. A child was lost. Why? Due to censorship. You know, because the government didn't want like all of the extremist groups to talk about their opinions. In a survey, 83% of the people told that internet should be a human right. Internet is a human right because people can speak whatever they want. You know, if people can't speak whatever they want, if everything is censored, then there's no point in it being the internet. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the speech. Candice number 34. And now we have the half century. Candice number 50. It is a humble request to all the contestants to kindly mention your topic code without fail, because it will be helpful for our judges to understand. Yes.
A very good afternoon to one and all. And before saying anything, I want to ask you one question. Like, it's very simple question. You have to just complete the phrase. Jai Jawan.
Jai Kisan.
Oh, I'm very glad that you all know about that phrase said by the former Prime Minister Lal Bahadur Shastri. So yes, today I am the contestant number 50 and my topic code is 41. And I am going to speak on farmers' suicide, a great deal to it. Do you know, friends, we live in country India, which is known for its agriculture, and we are the ancestor of farmers. But what we know that the condition of farmers are decreasing day by day. Why? Because we have not such proper system for the farmers. I want to ask you one more question. You all are engineering students, journalism students, even I am also a journalism student. You all are pursuing design and all such fashionable courses. But anyone who wants to become a farmer? No. No one will say that I want to become a farmer. Why? Because from childhood we know that the condition of farmers are very low. They are poor, they have nothing to eat, they have nothing to explore themselves. That's the thing in our country. We are supposed to say that the Bharat गांव में बसने वाला देश है, लेकिन we don't want to become a farmer. That's the hypocrisy of Indian society. So friends, what's the thing is that that I am here to say about the condition of farmers in our country. From Jammu Kashmir to Tamil Nadu, from Gujarat to Bengal, all the states are suffering. Farmers are suiciding day by day. Do you know the word Annadata? We all know that word Annadata. This means the person who is providing us food. Why we are studying? Just to eat food. Why we earn money to eat food? And who provides us food? The farmers, the peasants. The person who works at night, at day, at morning, at evening. Who works in all the odd conditions. But the condition of that person is very, very pity. In a country like India, where we want to become the superpower, we want to compete with America, we want to compete with Europe, but we don't want to manage our farmers. That's the thing. Why we are doing this? Whenever a story came on a newspaper or in an article, we just read it. Okay, this farmer is dead because of that reason. But why we didn't find that reason that why he is dead? Why? Can't you feel? Can you feel the pain, the sorrow of the family of the farmer who is dying? Who doesn't manage a meal for a day? And you know what? Why I choose that topic? Because I belong to a family where my grandfather, both my maternal side and my paternal side, both are doing farming. But the thing is that they are doing for their hobby. But if they are doing as a profession, then do you believe that I can stand on the MIT ADT University and speaking on farmers? No. Because farmers have no money. Only India, poor are becoming poor, richer are becoming richer. That's the thing. We have to do something. And instead of promoting Make in India and all, why our government is not stepping towards for farmers' condition? So at last, I want to just quote one thing, that if we want to gain our status that the golden sparrow again, so then we have to protect the person who is working on the soil, which is termed as golden. And then if that person is dying day by day, then who will sing the song Mere Desh Ki Dharti Sona Ugle? Who will sing the song? So at last, I appeal you all that encourage farming and support farmers, and they just need your support and also respect also the way you respect the Jawans of our India. So they also the farmers also needs the same respect, because India is of two men, the Jawan and the Kisan. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I see all the power-packed performances all geared up today, as I wasn't wrong. Contestant number 16 is fully prepared to be on the stage. He just cannot wait. But I think judges need some time to... Okay, we can go on. All right. After the speech, completion of the speech of contestant number 16, we will go ahead with a few more chits. Yes. You will be picking up the chits. All right. So we have contestant number 16. Please give him a huge round of applause once again, a formal one.
It's 41, the subject code. The same. How many of you all are North Indians? South Indians? Maharashtrians? That's it. हमारे गांव की बात अलग है. There's one particular slogan, is one particular empathy which is there in the heart. We say when we face our friends from down. We all are part of a particular piece, a particular place where we all belong from. I was in 3rd grade. My grandfather used to always say to me, "Chal beta, गाँव ले जाता हूँ." I used to always go. I used to go with him. गाँव की बात सच में अलग है. चाहे वो जो भी हो, चाहे वो खेती हो, चाहे वो बारी हो, चाहे जो भी हो, मजा आता था. There was one particular point in which I was so damn attracted towards going to the village that I never studied. I just had this one vision. No, I need to go to the village. एक चाचा थे, प्रफुल्ल चाचा. प्रफुल्ल चाचा was very close to my heart. He was a farmer. He did everything that could be possible to earn for the farming, earn for his family, earn for his income. In fact, I was very close to him when I wanted to seed a particular, I wanted to grow a plant. When I was very small, I was around 3rd or 4th, I guess. He asked me, "Beta, ho jayega. Let's go." I went to the town, and after a year I came. I was looking for Prafull Chacha. Chacha, kahan ho? I heard one thing. He died. He committed suicide. In fact, his particular family had no money to pay for the Hindu rituals also. My grandfather took the initiative to go for the family. He paid the entire amount. What's the time right now? What's the time right now?
2:55.
2:55? 4:55, 2 farmers will be dying from suicide. This is the particular point. This is the particular figure of this country. Now, सरकार की गलती है, मैं जाने दो. Look in yourself. I know who to blame now. I know who to blame. Who is this particular person responsible? The next morning, you go to the washroom, look at yourself, look in the mirror, you'll find the person. That is us. We are responsible. We are responsible for the deaths. I stay in this land. You know what this ground reality holds? In the entire country, the number of suicides have been committed from Maharashtra. A perfect example. What do we say? Developed state? I don't want to compare any state here. I'm comparing India. 1965, someone said, "Jai Jawan, Jai Kisan." When Pakistan forces were invading, there was a need of food. Farmers had gone for it. And now, our income, me being a farmer, my income is 1500, sir. Next year will be 1700. I got 200%. I got 200 profit ho gaya, sir. Bloody hell. It's not about elections, or it's not about getting a particular political party here. 270% of the farmers who are into agriculture sector right now, they don't earn a profit. I don't care about the time here. The words are coming from the heart. When I was in 8th grade, I asked my grandfather, "Why did you pay for the farmer?" He said only one thing. "बेटा, जिस घर में मिट्टी के दिए होते हैं, जिस घर में इंसान के कद छोटे होते हैं, वो इंसान सच में बड़े होते हैं." जय जवान, जय किसान. I want everybody to stand up right now. Stand up. Stand up. Please stand up. 1965, Rajendra Prasad said, "Jai Jawan, Jai Kisan." Everybody was in shock. Wow, what a word. I would say, just repeat after me. Jai Hindustan.
Jai Hindustan.
Jai Kisan.
Jai Kisan.
Jai Hindustan.
Jai Kisan.
Jai Kisan.
Jai Kisan.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
I will give you time, all of you, to kindly settle down, and that was much institution of MIT ADT University, I suppose. Maybe. Alright. Okay, so whose birthday falls on 15th August? Okay, please come forward to pick up the chins. Whose birthday falls on 15th August? So we have contestant number 11. Do we have 11? Do we have 48? 48? Okay. Do we have 15? Do we have 15? 1, 5, 15? Do we have 3? Number 3. Number 9?
Done already.
It must be.
It must be 6.
Number 22? Number 22? Number 12? $74. 84? Number 84?
कहाँ है जनता?
And 77. Alright. So we'll begin. Judges ready? Alright. So with a huge round of applause, our next contestant number 40. Contestant number 40. Your topic.
Good afternoon, honorable judges, respected teachers, and all my dear friends. I'm number 40, and I'm number 40, and my topic number is 62. Is India a soft nation? Well, friends, whenever we hear the news that Pakistani army or Chinese army have killed the civilians or Indian army men, we feel we develop an image in our minds. Oh, Pakistan is a bad country. It's violent. It doesn't want peace. And when we do that, when we kill terrorists, when we kill the men who are spies in our countries, what Pakistan does it, they make a smart use of internet and social networking sites, and they spread the message in front of the whole world that India is a violent country. It doesn't want world peace. China, on the other hand, what it does is pressurizes India by strengthening its defensive forces on the borders and in the oceans. And what they do is that pressurize India more by making us pay heavy taxes on the imports what we take from China. Now, in 1961, the non-alignment movement started, and India was one of the leading countries which was not on the either side of the two superpowers which were recognized at those times. After that movement, India started building an image that it is a peacemaking nation. What Pakistan and China did was repeatedly evoked warlike situations on the borders, slowly started killing our Indian army men, and they even cornered our country in the Asian continent by pressurizing our neighboring countries, that is Bhutan, Nepal, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh. After so much of attempts, after so much of strategies, India's image started to change. It started to change from a peacemaking nation to a soft nation. In 2016, on September 18th, 4 heavily armed militants, they entered LOC near Uri, attacked the base camp, killed 18 Indian soldiers who were sleeping in the base camp just because they were out of their duty. That is why they were sleeping. And they killed them mercilessly. Everyone in the world thought India would not do anything else now. They will just leave these incidents. But what India did on in that very month, that was my birthday, 29th September, in 2016, I woke up and I heard the first news, India laid down a surgical strike on Pakistan and left them with great words. I got the most biggest and happiest gift I've ever got in my life from my nation. India evoked the message to the world, if you are stepping in on our head, we are not going to keep quiet. We are not the nation who will keep quiet anymore. We will show what we have got. After this, what Pakistan and China did, again criticized India. It's a violent country. They don't want world peace. India too is very smart this time. What they did is make heavy deals with GE Locomotives, which is an American-based industry, and other American-based industries as well. And what it results is direct weakening of Pakistani economy. Why? Pakistan receives 90% of the FDI every year from goddamn America. Now, China used the strategy of bringing in our neighboring countries against us. India bhi साला मानेगा नहीं किसी की. They use the same strategy. What we do? We say sit here and say, oh, our Prime Minister, he roams around in other countries. What he did is, he went to the nations surrounding China, Bhutan, Nepal, Bangladesh, Taiwan, Japan, made deals with them, assured them, took them into confidence that India will give you assistance in various economic, distressful situations and political or defensive strategies. These nations came with India, even Mongolia too, which is considered to be the backyard of China. They are with India in this campaign of ending China's domination in Asian continent. Now, my friends, you tell me, in last 6 months, have you heard any major news of attacking or firing on the border? No. Why? Pakistan does not have the money and they do not afford only to make ammunition. China though do have, but won't be able to use it because they are afraid. Arey, India? No, then Japan, Russia, Taiwan. Oh, no. So in the end, my friends, a wise man said that an eye for an eye can make the whole world blind. We are no one to make anyone blind here. Okay? In the end, India's foreign policy resulted and showed the world that it is not only the strength which matters in the competition of existence or in the protection of your territory. It is also equally important to be clever and astute. Now, in the end, if we are saying that India is a violent country, if you are using our soft nature against us as a weapon, we are not gonna be sitting and watching you mercilessly killing our men. Okay? We are going to fight back. We will not take time to become the bad guy. Okay? How's the Josh? How's the Josh? I love my parents. I love my nation. Thank you and Jai Hind.
Thank you. Thank you, class number 40. So, the participants themselves, they are, doing my work. They are all cheering and gearing up. All the ones here, sitting here. And I'm pretty sure that we have been sitting in this particular Audi since 9 a.m., right? I don't see anybody feeling any tired or bored. Are you all enjoying these speeches? Yes. Yes? Can we clap for ourselves once again? That's fantastic. Alright, so moving ahead. Our next contestant number 11.
Good morning, everyone. Oh, sorry, guys. Good afternoon. And I'm Levin. Topic code 32. Clear?
You must begin.
So I'm going to speak on this topic. Does India need a superpower status? Well, I don't think anyone needs to give us a superpower status. We already are one. According to us, we are a superpower. Like, come on, look at us. Like, we have the highest number of youth in the world. Like, come on, guys, how's the Josh?
Hi, sir.
How's the Josh?
Hi, sir.
See, we have, and India is a country where like a large number of people attend college. And you know, the educated youth are the backbone of a country. If you go to any superpower, you'll have a higher number of educated youth who will. Guys, can I get your attention? So, like, let me first define what's a superpower. So, a superpower is a state or an entity which can exert influence or like power. Basically, this power is due to the economic, geographic, population or military. So, let me you know the 4 criteria for a superpower. So, in perspective of India, I'll tell you how we satisfy each and every of this condition. So, first, people. Come on, dude. We're like the second most populous country in the world. Probably become first. And many people say this isn't good. But guys, think again. If a war erupts right now, our youth is enough. We all are one army. You all are my comrades. We all are one entity. So, guys, come on. And after the World War, when the Cold War started, like there are 2 powerful entities. America, China, and even Great Britain. So, but our Chacha Nehru, he's awesome. He said, "Apna time aayega." Started non-aligned movement. So that was great step forward. Like at that time, he didn't want anyone to certify us as a superpower. He considered us a superpower that time. Why can't we think of ourselves as superpowers now? Like, how many of you here who think India isn't good enough? Raise your hand. Who feel France, UK, Germany is better than us? Come on, raise your hands. You do? Okay, do you know like the most skilled people in those countries are guys who went from here? Come on, like Google. Google literally runs. See, if you guys know, corporates run governments all over the world. And top 3 companies in the US, Google, Microsoft, and 2 companies are run by Indians. So guys, proud moment, clap for yourselves. You might also be the future. But then there's a lot of hindrance for us becoming like the most powerful nation in the world. And these hindrances are basically poverty, probably poverty, then ignorance. Basically, we have a huge population which is like really ignorant about the critical issues in our country. Like, how many of you actually follow Swachh Bharat? Please raise your hands. Really? It doesn't seem so. Okay. So guys, see. You all follow Swachh Bharat, but there's an equal number of population who says that's shit. Please, if your surroundings are clean, your mood to work improves, and when your mood to work improves, your efficiency improves. And as you are more efficient, your country becomes more prosperous, and that is the sole definition of a superpower. So guys, let's hold hands together and make this country a superpower. Thank you, everyone. Just loved your Josh.
Hi, sir.
यार हाउस द जोश नहीं बोला अब तक. How's the Josh?
Hi, sir.
How's the Josh?
Hi, sir.
Come on, guys, let's make India a superpower. India's future is in our hands, and I think it's capable enough.
That's great. Great to see the power of our youth, and that too under this roof. Really proud of all of you. And moving to the next Judges, do you need some time? Alright, so with a huge round of applause, let us call upon contestant number 48. Contestant number 48, ladies and gentlemen. A contestant is going to be here on stage. What does it mean?
Hello everyone, are you having a good time? Are you enjoying? Okay, so my contestant code is 48 and my topic is 83. True and absolute. Happiness is just a state of mind. It's not the luxuries that make us go blind. It's only inside that you'll find the doorway to the other side. The mind is a beautiful tool. Use it and don't be used. For if you use it, it's not you. You are the user, so you got the right to choose. Choose positivity. Choose happiness. And trust me guys, until eternity shall you experience true and absolute happiness. So my topic today is my life philosophy. And there was a point in my life where just like a bullet is fired from a gun, happiness was shot right out of me. I did not feel sad. I felt emotionless. I felt like I had lost everything and I had nothing to live for. But then I found my life again through spiritual books. I read about spirituality and that's how I defined my philosophy of life. So I'm going to share it with you guys. So, how many of you believe that you are the mind and the body? Okay. What do the rest of us believe? Potatoes. Okay. Anyways, so, well, the ones that did not say anything might be right because I believe that we are not the body and the mind. How many of you like using mobile phones? I can see you. Okay. So, by using mobile phones, do we become the mobile phone? Yeah? No, right? We are the user of the mobile phone. So, a mobile phone, an object that is used, is inherently different from the user. A user cannot be the used. So, I use my bike every day to come here. Does that make me my bike? No. So, we all use our mind and our body every day for survival. Does it make us, our body and mind? Well, it is in fact it is a part of us, but it's not all that we are. We are something more. And that's what I told my friend yesterday when I was discussing this topic. And he asked me, "Hum kya hai bhai? Body nahi, mind nahi, so what are we?" So there was a stone lying there, and I asked him, "Can you see that stone?" He said, "Yes." So I went there and brought the stone ahead. And I asked him, "Is this a stone?" He said, "Yes." "No, I'm pointing to the edge of the stone. Is this a stone?" He said, "Duh, yes, it is a stone." So I said, "I have extremely talented fingers. I'm pointing to the very last electron of that stone. Is it still the stone?" He said, "Yes, it is the stone. Will you stop bothering me?" I said, "You found your answer. You are the electron on the edge of the stone." What's your stone, guys? The stone is our universe. We are a small little part of the universe. But does that make us any different from the rest of the stone? Does it? So we inherently are the universe, but we choose to believe that we are a petty little electron. And that belief system is what can govern our life, is what can change our life. And that belief system, that realization that I am not a petty little electron, I am the mighty strong stone, got me out of depression and got me back into my life. And I hope... Thank you. And just like the universe, it's infinite, right? And so are you. Who says you cannot become an engineer? Who says you cannot drop out and become a musician? Who says that you cannot become an artist right now if you start? You can do anything. You can be anything. You, my dear friends, are infinite. You can do anything. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Now, next contestant, number 74. Contestant number 74 on stage, please. With a huge round of applause, let us welcome contestant number 74. Judges? I once again request all the audience and participants and the... Yes. I request everyone to kindly maintain the decorum and discipline the way you have been So we are almost there. We have one more hour with us, and we want to make the most of it so that tomorrow again, when we continue, you must be all waiting, for your results. So yes, is that something that's giving you a butterfly effect?
Yes.
All right. So let us go on in a smooth functioning the way we have been going on since morning. So please, it is my humble request to maintain the decorum. Thank you. And contestant number 74 may now begin.
Good afternoon to one and all present here. My code number is 74 and my subject code is 95. From the flashing images that encatches us or that catches our attention, from the amazing animation that we see all around, the famous taglines that Dar Kya Ke Jeet Hai from Mountain Dew or Open Happiness from the Coke. Yes guys, I'm here to talk about advertisement that has mind games. Don't be scared, mind games are just to attract us. So, let me ask you a very basic question. You guys are all mature and you guys, so how this advertisement companies just influence you? It is maybe, I think, the flashing taglines or the amazing animations that you see. But how they influence in you how they influence you in such a way that you can't even restrict to look at that advertisement and you end up buying that product. How is that possible? Means what power does this advertisement company has got to influence you in such a way that you are just tempted to buy that product and try once in your life? Yes, the answer lies within this advertisement companies. This advertisement companies has a strong ideology. This ideology is focused on the subgroups made in the society. This companies makes the group according to senior citizens, adults, teenagers, and kids. And this ideology is projected in the form of strong logos and pictures that catches our attention. Amazing animations and infographics. The third thing is the flashy taglines that say just do it from Nike and all. And the fourth is a celebrity endorsement. So, I mean, a celebrity endorsement is just like a brand ambassador. I mean, who doesn't like to try a product used by Virat Kohli, Sachin Tendulkar, and major of the celebrities? I'm sure you must have been through that ad, and you are very familiar with that ad. I'm loving it. McDonald's, yes. This company uses or invests in major of their advertisement that create animations, or that the animations are just like the soft burger falling with the fresh lettuce and the mayonnaise on that, and you just can't tempt to try that product once. Your taste buds are triggered with that kind of animation. So animation is used as a powerful tool to just trigger our taste buds. Sometimes in advertisements, short dramas are also used to link us. You must have been familiar with the advertisement of Cadbury Milk Chocolate that brings on that brings on the family that sits together and says, "Khane ke baad kuch meetha ho jaye." And you just link the advertisement with your family. You just visualize yourself to that Cadbury Dairy Milk Chocolate, having it with your family and spending good time. And that's when you get influenced with this advertisement companies. But I've observed that people end up buying some useless products that they don't actually need, and they get influenced by this advertisement companies. But how is that possible? I mean, how to control that temptation? Once this advertisement companies try to showcase once this advertisement companies try to showcase the animations or the creativity, that I just want to say you one thing, that just ask a simple question to yourself, that do I need to buy this product actually, or is this product needed for me right now? Then I'm sure you will find your answer very clearly. Let not advertisement control your minds, but you be the deciding makers, and you decide what is better for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. very much, contestant number 74. And our next contestant is contestant number 77. Huge round of applause for contestant number 77. I think we can take care of the hootings. Claps are enough. Please. Judges, contestant number 77.
A very pleasant afternoon to one and all present here. I am contestant number 77 and I will be presenting my views on the topic number 31, a famous quotation by Karl Barth: "Joy is the simplest form of gratitude." Joy, happiness, self-satisfaction, bliss, contentment, these all are the words around which our world rotates and we long for. But how many of you sitting here can say that, yeah, I'm completely satisfied and happy today? No. Oh, congratulations, bro. Well, happiness comes from acceptance, and acceptance comes from gratitude. Isn't it a blissful day that we all woke up today? We have got more opportunities to experience, to recorrect our old mistakes, to fix up our lives, to love, to be loved. Well, these all moments are blessed. We don't earn them, we don't buy them. These are just the simple and wonderful gift we get. But at the same point, you can't be grateful for everything. You can't be grateful for violence. You can't be grateful for heartbreaks, for the moments of separation, for the moments of failure, for the moments of unfaithfulness. But you can still find gratefulness that you have at least got an opportunity to rise against all these odds. It's completely your choice that you want to rise, you want to grab the opportunity and rise, or you just want to sit and complain for whatever has happened. And those people who rise are the people who are being admired. People like Stephen Hawking. He was paralyzed, but his paralyzed body couldn't stop him from discovering. And that is the reason I am talking about him, and he has been influential. But sometimes we fail, but we are blessed that we get another opportunities. So just count on the opportunities you are getting and don't let them go. Living is another thing, but living a happy life is most important. Well, if you really want to find happiness, then find gratefulness. And once you find gratefulness, no natural calamity, no person, and no money can take away that happiness from you. Great. Thank you. Gratitude is a way to unlock fullness in life. It turns whatever you have into enough and more. It turns denial into exception. It could turn chaos to order. It could turn confusion to clarity. It could turn even a meal to a feast. It could turn your house into home. It turns everything around you. So be grateful, feel blessed, and thank for whatever you have, and spread your joyness all over. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, contestant number 77. And now we would like to break for a small tea break, and we will be back here within 5 minutes. So tea and snacks have already been arranged for all of you. Please take a short break.
My contestant code is 52 and my topic code is 22. Importance of music in life. So it is really interesting how a combination of words, rhythm, pitch, all together gives a word which is known as music. It plays a major importance in our life. Don't it play a major important part in our life? Yes, yeah?
Yes.
We are hearing this music from the time when we were in the womb of our mama, right? From there to the 80-year-old people, 80-year-old human loves to hear the music. So music is basically the only source through which we can communicate, even if we are not knowing the language or place from where we don't belong.
Okay, it's okay.
So when we come to music, it's basically said that music improves our mood, it lessens our tension, it changes the level of anxiety in our body. It has many scientific use. It is said that scientists say that during surgery, if before or after we hear music, it can improve the pain, it can lessen the pain during the surgery. The cancer patients are also treated with a standard music so that they can go through the pain of chemotherapy. In our ancient time, music was used as a source of vital communication. Through music, we used to tell stories so that people can understand and relate. So basically, from our ancient time, music is the only source through which we can communicate. Nowadays, music therapies are given so that we can lessen our tension, lessen our anxiety in our body. Due to this, we can support and reduce the physical and the mental stress which we are going through. In this way, music plays a vital role and helps and plays a major important role in our life. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was contestant number 52. And may we have a huge round of applause for our next contestant, contestant number 42.
Hello. Good afternoon, guys and judges. My code number is 42, and my subject code number is 96. So, guys, enough with all motivation and combined knowledge of YouTube, Google, and whatsoever other stuff. So, enough for it. Let us be realistic for last moment. Actually, I feel lucky that I am presenting last or second last, as I feel that I am taking a different stand over here, or I am being a bit realistic rather than motivational and all. I thought these things to be a lot common. So my topic is business will harden you. Now business in it is a vast concept to be understood. So why I feel that the reason I feel I am eligible enough to speak on this topic is I have practiced 5 different kinds of business till today. The first one I practiced was in 8th standard, the next was in 9th, and then so next I just continued. So the first business I practiced was in 8th standard, second was in 9th. So for the second business I earned 10,000 rupees in a day. So by taking taking the average, I would have earned 3 lakh rupees per month, but it was only for one day. Actually, our school arranges a fun fair on Children's Day, so we students are allowed to have food stalls in our schools. So we set up the food stalls, and what I was selling was bhel. So by selling 500 plates or something near about that, I earned 10,000 rupees, and 20% was only the cost price, and rest 80% was the profit. So this was my first business experience. Second business experience, first was in 8th standard when I sold pani puri in school. So the thing was, in 8th standard my business didn't run at that ease. There was other pani puri seller, my friend, and so there was competition actually, who sells better. Unfortunately, I had to test his because mine wasn't getting sold. So I had to see what was best in it. So I got disheartened in 8th standard, which was my first try. And at that moment, I got to know where am I lagging. And also, business also taught me that what kind of challenges you will have to face, what kind of hardships will be there, setbacks will be there. It was just 8th standard, but I got to know that, okay, I need to be strong enough, my product needs to be of quality, and then only I will be at success. Okay, so these were the first two experiences, just small experiences of selling Pani Puri and Bhel. That's it, fine. So I stopped for 2-3 years, like no focus and other stuff, 10th standard or what, I didn't know what it was. So next business I just practiced when I came here in MIT. When I was in first semester, I had no work, it was just idle. And me and my friend, actually, by mere investment of 10 to 15,000, we brought water bottle boxes. So behind every box, we had 30 rupees profit. From MIT corner to Toll Naka, we contacted 15 to 20 hotel owners and asked them to purchase those boxes from us. And others were selling them at 35 rupees profit. So we sold them at 5 rupees less profit. So we got 8 customers who were going to buy our boxes. So our working time was 1 to 2 p.m. That is our college lunch break. In the first 20 minutes, we used to have our tiffins, and next 40 minutes was all about work. So it was a moped. We used to take 6 boxes, 3 boxes placed front, 3 boxes me sitting behind carrying 3 boxes, and it really was running good. It was, but the thing was, I got embarrassed a bit. My friends were watching me, and through highway we were selling on our bikes towards Toll Naka, carrying all those boxes. My friends used to look like, oh, what? You are learning in MIT and doing all this stuff, something that kind. And I don't know how many of you remember, there was Tanaya Hotel just opposite of petrol pump, and which was our biggest customer. Like if we had to deliver their boxes, we at least had to do 3 trips, like 18 boxes, 6 at each trip. So once what happened, my class girls were sitting there. So guys was okay, guy friends are. You look at me, I know I have money, you will again ask for me. Bhai paisa de thode, bhai paisa lag rahe. That was going to be there, but it was embarrassing when girls saw. And what happened was, one day, a girl which I liked a bit was sitting over there. And then I thought, why you are here? You could have, in my mind it was like, why you are here? You could have told me, we would have went out for lunch. Why here but? And I was delivering box over there. So, but the best thing was she talked to me. She inquired about all the things. And she inquired as if she was going to partner me from the next day and was going to hold the boxes behind the Activa. So it was a good thing. Business taught me that embarrassment is nothing. You have to do what you have got to do. You have to take the guts. You have got the guts. So you have to perform it. No matter what people say. And she said she liked me doing all this. Okay. And today I'm still single. Gained a few bucks and had a lot of confidence. That's the reason I'm standing here. And I don't know why always my primary school teachers used to say, one incident happened, me and my partner were made to stand, and the teacher said, my partner name was Akash. He said, Akash, at least you should answer. I can understand Sagar can't answer, but Akash, at least you should answer. That was so embarrassing. I just took a stand, like I need to work on my academics as well as other things. So this business taught me that embarrassment is nothing. You have to do what you have to do. Other 2 business was, I've helped my father in business since last 2 years. He being with old age, I just love helping him. Otherwise, chain marketing, I didn't have much time for it. So in a nutshell, what we can say is business will harden you. All you have to know is there will be setbacks. You just have to learn from it. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was contestant number 42. And now we have our second last contestant for today, contestant number 19. Yeah, we may have one. Huge round of applause for contestant number 19.
Yeah, I need a ribbon.
While campaigning for his adult literacy program, Dr. Shashi Tharoor met a woman called Chitramani. He saw her write on a piece of paper very proudly her name in Tamil. He went to her and he asked her what being able to read and write meant to her. To which she said, "I can now read the destination of the place where I want to go on the bus. I don't need to ask anybody else anymore. I don't feel helpless anymore." And this is the power that education gives us. Good afternoon to one and all present over here. I'm contestant code number 19, and today we're going to discuss about a well-formed mind and a well-educated mind. That's topic number 74. Education implies a holistic learning that includes values, beliefs, literacy, hygiene. But we cannot say that India is a well-educated country while it's just literate. Although the literacy rate in India is 80% on paper, but of what meaning is this literacy without any true education? In the coming years, India is going to have 65% of its population in the working age bracket, that is 15 to 59 years of age. And the most difficult challenge we're going to face then is to develop and educate and employ these talented individuals. And just like Shashi Tharoor once said, if we don't utilize this demographic opportunity, it's soon going to turn into a demographic disaster. We need to start doing things that others haven't done. We need to start doing things that we have been doing in our culture. We're the land that invented zero, the Ayurveda and the yoga. We need to innovate. With 17% of world's total brains, why do we just have 2.8% of world's total research output? We need to go back to our schools, our classrooms, where students don't just learn and memorize things that have been taught in the textbooks, because frankly, this will just bring a well-filled mind. And in this era of technology, we don't need a well-filled mind. We have internet in our pockets wherever we go. I'm sure we've all had our experience with the literate yet uneducated individuals. Those who travel in luxury and fancy cars while spitting on the roads, and those who do not pay taxes and yet complain about the poor infrastructure. What we need is a well-formed mind. A mind that reacts to unfamiliar details and facts. A mind that synthesizes information that hasn't been taught before. A mind that doesn't just ask how and why, but why not. The challenges are enormous. Yet there's a silver lining. 95% of Indian students, 12-year-old Indian students, are educated and can read and write. And trust me, the number is huge. In conclusion, I would like to say that let our generation not be the one which knows the price of things, but not the value. Let us know what is right and wrong for us and bring in a meaningful change in the society. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That was contestant number 19. And now we have our last contestant for today. A huge round of applause for our last contestant for today, contestant number 78.
Good afternoon, judges, respected judges, teachers, and audience, my friends. My code number is 78 and my topic code is 73, that is positive thinking, a way of life or analysis of life. I think you will be agree with me when I say the power of positive thinking is remarkable. In fact, the idea that our mind can change your world, it seems to be good, to be true. What is positive thinking? Positive thinking is nothing but focusing on the bright side of the problems. I think let me go in that. Let me ask you one question. That who want to lead a happy and successful life? Everyone. You work hard so that you can achieve your goals and enjoy a happy life with your families and friends. Yet some of your friends can achieve what they want and rest of them not. You know what? Because of the negative thinking. What is negative? The word, it's create a negative energy in that. There is one university, Howard University in America, which research on that the people who live their lives in happy and the people who live their life in frustrated. What's the difference between that both peoples? They took 14 years on research on that, and after that they got a conclusion that the people who live their life happily, they think positive, and the people who live their lives in frustrated, they think negative. See how it impacts in our life. Because a negative mind can never give you a positive life. So think of it. And there is a famous quote of Swami Vivekanand, that is, I quote that, believe in yourself and the world will at your feet. And there is another quote is that, एक पेड़ से हजारों माचिस की तीलियां बन सकती है और एक माचिस की तीली हजारों पेड़ को जला सकती है. इसी प्रकार एक नकारात्मक सोच हजारों सपनों को जला सकती है. So think of it. The power is in your hand. Only you can change the life. So think of it. And the time, the day when you think positive, the way you see the world should be totally changed. So think positive and stay positive. Thank you.
Thank you, contestant number 78. And friends, I think on this positive note, we may conclude today's session, today's day.